Hello there, and welcome to my interpretation of the God of War timeline. I should mention that my timeline may not be in depth as expected because it's just straight from what I know and from what I've played, read, and seen from others. With that, I should mention that I haven't played Ghost of Sparta and Shades of Olympus, so there might be more noticeable gaps with that chunk of the story there. I'll do the best I can to fill it though. In general, I'm going to try and keep this as chronological as I can. And I'm going to start off with Kronos being the father of Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. There's also 3 lesser known gods in this timeline, being Hera, Hestia, and Demeter. If you played God of War 2, you know the relationship between the two, which we are told by Gaia. Kronos wants to prevent the prophecy of his children growing up to overthrow him, so for some reason he keeps having these children with this woman called Rhea. I will not confirm if she is the wife or not for classified reasons. So every time she had a child with Kronos, being the titan that he is, he would come to have a meal out of each one of his children. And of course, Rhea was unsettled with this and wanted to raise a child because of how titanly huge Kronos was. He couldn't even consistently do baby checks. So this resulted in Kronos eating a rock and Zeus being raised in hiding. He eventually grew up and became the Olympian god that we all love or hate. I won't get into it. And also there's the whole war of the titans and the gods, but I'm not gonna get into that too much. So Zeus managed to grow up and he managed to free all the children that were eaten. And I assume because they are gods, they were just in a prison, just chilling in Kronos' stomach, unable to be digested or even excreted out. So that's how they survived for so long in his belly. Well, this then brings us to the story of the protagonist of our story. Definitely one of my most favorite characters to ever be made. I don't know about you, but for me, he's number 1. So yes, Zeus is the ruler of Olympus. And everything he's doing, he's living la vida loca, he's having relationships with many mortals left, right, and center. So eventually one of these women, named Callisto, gets involved with Zeus, and she gives birth to 2 children who are named Kratos and Deimos. They both grow up in Sparta and wanted to be great warriors in the Spartan army. Zeus then heard of a prophecy that a marked warrior would bring the destruction of Olympus, and this caused Deimos, who had a distinct birthmark all over his body, to be targeted, and Zeus sent Athena and Ares take Deimos to prevent their claimed destruction. Kratos tried to fight Ares when this was taking place, but he left him with a very well-known scar across his right eye as he attempted to defend his brother. Ares, almost killing him, was then stopped by Athena, and they left behind an unconscious Kratos. Kratos, feeling guilty that he failed to protect his brother, got the iconic body tattoo that we know him for in the memory of his brother. Kratos eventually grew up to be a strong warrior, unlike the others, and soon became a Spartan general. He had a wife called Lysandra, and they had a child together called Calliope. How these next events were led up to, I'm not sure, but the gods picked a champion which was going to compete against one another for a healing elixir called ambrosia. For example, Kratos was selected by Ares to be his champion, and his daughter Calliope fell ill and told that only the ambrosia would be able to save her life. And for context, we'll mention that a barbarian named Ulrich was chosen by Hades, and he would need to get the ambrosia for his father who was ill, and they would battle it out amongst all the gods' champions. And of course Kratos, getting the elixir, managed to save Calliope. Alric, on the other hand, had to deal with the loss of his father. Alric then took the barbarian army to seek out Kratos, blaming him for the death because of a heated confrontation the two had. Kratos, underestimating the barbarian army because of how strong he knew the army he built was, almost lost everything because of how brutal the barbarians were. He begged Ares to save his life, and he promised to forever serve him. Ares then took the opportunity to make Kratos his ultimate weapon to overthrow the greater power. Kratos was then bound to the Blades of Chaos, the weapons which would make the biggest impact in his life, more than he would ever know. Whilst in servitude of Ares, he conquered and took down many places, and Ares made a plan behind his back to make him the perfect warrior. The Furies, which we learnt about in God of War Ascension, made what was called blood test or trials, where he had to spill the blood of his enemies, which he had already done, blood of innocence, which was what he had done with all the multiple raids from the instructions he got from Ares. And I must mention, I'm not sure he had killed innocent people before serving Ares when he was just the Spartan general, but I will assume that he hadn't. The last trial, though, would involve him spilling the blood of his loved ones, which of course was the hardest. Ares believes that if he did all of these, nothing would be able to hold him back from being the warrior that takes down Olympus. Ares then, of course, sent Kratos to raid another city as usual, but he transferred his wife and daughter without his knowledge, and this led to the moment where he killed his family, thinking they were back home. After informing him what his intentions were, he had forever lost the loyalty of his once-upon champion. I mean, I don't know who in their right minds would expect anyone to accept such a situation. The Furies then captured Kratos and tortured him in attempts to make him keep his allegiance to Ares. Kratos eventually escaped, managed to kill the Furies, and realized that Orcus, the child born from the Furies and Ares, was made to be the Oath Keeper of all. To finally break what bonds him to Ares, he needed to kill Orcus, who had already helped him in his escape from the torture of the Furies. And he was obviously disappointed that he needed to spill more blood.
I have spilled enough innocent blood.
There is no other way, Spartan. Destroy the Oath. Kill Ares. Have your revenge.
And in doing so, the memories of what he had done under the servitude of Ares haunted him, and he served the gods of Olympus in hopes that they will remove all those thoughts that overwhelmed him. So whilst in service of the gods, an event involved the disappearance of Helios, the god of the sun. And the sun collapsed, casting a whole darkness on the world. This then gave an opportunity to Morpheus, who was the god of dreams, and put most of the gods to sleep in a plot to destroy Olympus, working with the Titan Atlas and Persephone, who was the wife of Hades, living in the underworld, bitter at Zeus, who is the reason she is imprisoned there. So Athena then tasked Kratos with finding Helios, so Morpheus can have a counter against him. Kratos learns from going to the temple of Helios that he was taken by Atlas, and thus embarks on his journey to the underworld. This is where I have my minimum knowledge from not playing the game, but I'll try get the main points covered. So Kratos found out that he could be reunited with his daughter in the fields of Elysium, if he gives up all of his powers and weapons, of course. That was the price of which he had to pay to meet her. He does this and meets Calliope, being the happiest he's been in a long time, but learns that Persephone plans to destroy the pillar that holds up the world, which would destroy everything including his reunion. Even with Calliope begging him not to leave, knowing there would be no other way to see her father again, Kratos makes the decision of taking back everything and to try and stop the disaster from happening. He does end up in a battle with the Queen of the Underworld, and he does kill her, even though the pillar was destroyed by Atlas. But Kratos managed to trick the four-armed titan Atlas into holding up the world and was cursed with this burden for the rest of his days. Kratos ultimately was successful in returning Helios to the world. So we now have come to the events of the first game. Kratos has been in servitude to the gods for 10 years, still trying to get rid of the memories that haunt him. In talks with Athena, who has been his messenger from the gods, and what they want from him, they discuss how they are unhappy with the actions of Ares and grant him the impossible task of taking down Ares as a mortal. Since Zeus had set a rule that no god shall kill another god, this was done knowing that Kratos had broken his bond to Ares and had hatred for being the reason he had murdered his family. Kratos is then sent out on a journey which he has to acquire the strength to kill a god. This power was told to be kept in Pandora's box, so he sets out to find this architecture. Kratos learns that the box is hidden in a contraption called Pandora's Temple, which was said to have the most elusive and difficult puzzles. This temple was chained on the back of the titan known as Kronos, who was punished by Zeus to wander with it forever in the desert of lost souls. Kratos then set himself to getting through this desert, which I remember took me hours when I was playing. I won't forget searching for those sirens. Which he did, and he found Kronos to climb and face the challenges of the temple. After passing all the bodies of the warriors that failed to secure the legendary treasure, he made it to the box. Unfortunately, while Ares was wreaking havoc, he used his godly senses or something. Honestly, I don't know how he found out, but he knew that Kratos has retrieved the glorified item, and knowing that he was on the dark side of the Olympians, he quickly put the pieces together and took one of the best throws in history with a huge stake, I want to call it, and pierced Kratos right through his abdomen, killing him and sending him to the underworld of Hades. Kratos, refusing to be held back, literally climbed out of the underworld, refusing to be left for dead. After all he has been through, he found Ares and managed to take Pandora's box, which was in his grasp. He opened it, and when he did, he finally felt that he had hope at killing the god of war. Standing face to face with him, he fought through all of Ares' torture, even with the reminder of his most painful bloodshed and losing all his weapons. He found a blade nearby, still giving him a fighting chance, and he killed Ares. Afterwards, while talking about his accomplishments with Athena, Kratos asked if now finally will he be rid of the nightmares. Being slick with her words, Athena said that they can only forgive him for the actions he has done, but not take away the pain his memories cause him. Feeling betrayed, Kratos wanted to end his life, and this is the opening scene we see of him saying this:
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. Now there is no hope.
Making the jump, he was brought back by Athena and told that the throne of God of War was empty and needed an occupant. We now have the events that happened in Ghost of Sparta, where Kratos is having nightmares about his mother telling him to come and help her. Kratos knew that this felt more than just a normal dream, like he was having a vision, and he wanted to set out on a journey to find her. So what happened to her before Kratos' knowledge, I am not certain, but I guess they were separated somehow, and he had no clue that she was kidnapped or something like that. Athena then tries to convince the god of war that it is nothing more than just a dream and should leave it be. Kratos was not going to take it lightly. I think still being haunted by all the family he couldn't protect, he was not going to let it go by chance. So he then finds out that Callisto was being kept in Atlantis, which was the city of Poseidon. What her condition was, I don't know, but I assume she was very ill and on the verge of death with some sort of sickness. Kratos eventually made his way to his mother. In her last moments, he talked with her, and she told him that Deimos was still alive and being held captive, and that he had to go and help him. Naturally, Kratos also had wanted to know about the identity of his father. This had been a conflict he had within him for a long time. It seems that Callisto was also about to reveal this to Kratos, but from what I had read, Zeus had put a curse on her where if she revealed this to Kratos, she would turn into this huge beast. In case you somehow got lost, Zeus was concealing his identity as Kratos' father. He then had the unfortunate battle with his mother as the beast and ultimately put her down. And before she dies, she thanks him for releasing her and begs him to look for Deimos. Kratos was told that Deimos was being held in the domain of the death. The god of death was the overseer of this place. Why there had to be two different gods for the underworld and one for death, I have no clue. It just confused me. Anyway, this god was Thanatos. Kratos did make his way through and found Deimos being held captive, as his mom had informed him. As he released him, the anger within Deimos of feeling abandoned for almost what was his whole life came out. But they came together, and happy that they were able to see each other for at least one more time. Thanatos caught wind of this and came to disrupt their reunion, and Kratos, with Deimos by his side, were able to fight. With more disappointment in this confrontation, Thanatos killed Deimos, infuriating Kratos even more for the reconciliation being cut short so quickly after he had mourned his life. Another two of his family taken from him. Kratos does end up defeating Thanatos, and he just remembers the thought of when Deimos was being taken away as a kid, and realizes before he was knocked out that Athena, who he had been going to for guidance all this time, was involved with the injustice to his family, and his hatred just continued to grow towards the gods because they had hurt him in so many ways in his life, and realizes they had a hand in all of it. Second game now, which begins with Kratos showing his anger to the gods, ignoring their words. He just takes out his anger as a god of war by raiding the cities, and Athena warns him if he continues on this path that she won't be able to protect him from what comes, which I would say she has already failed with what they have already put him through. And he found out the truth, so there was no way they were going to ever get him on his side again. So what we see is Kratos commanding his Spartan army to terrorize the city, and he drops down from Olympus to finish what's left of the war. In my opinion, one of the most memorable boss fights, where we see something taken from Kratos by this bird, I'm not sure if it was life force or something like a part of his godly powers, but it was put in the Colossus of Rhodes statue, and they battle it out. While in struggle, Zeus pitches one of the greatest proposals, which even I admit I would take.
Kratos,
I do not need your help, Zeus. I can take down this beast.
I offer you more than help, Kratos. I offer you power. I offer you the Blade of Olympus. It was this blade that ended the Great War and defeated the Titans. Drain your godly powers into the sword, Kratos. Only then will you reach your full potential.
Why do you aid me now?
So he tricks Kratos into infusing his godly powers into the Blade of Olympus to utilize it to destroy the huge statue. Kratos takes the offer and wins, but leaving himself exposed with all of his strength in the blade. Zeus then reveals himself as the bird and kills him using it. Escaping the underworld yet again, Gaia reveals herself to Kratos as the mother of the Titans and shows that she and the Titans can help him by uniting together to take down a common enemy, being the gods of Olympus. Gaia tells Kratos about the Sisters of Fate, which can control time and help him get back to the right time where he can get everything he needs to take down Zeus. Kratos, again embarking on the journey, reaches the sisters, but they, of course, were under allegiance with Zeus, so they refused to help him with his intentions, and he removed them from his path of vengeance to be able to take control of time. He went back to the moment where Zeus killed him and took the Blade of Olympus from his dying body and challenged the King of Gods, fighting him until Athena interrupted the fight and begged him not to continue on this path. Kratos only had rage and rushed to take a stab at Zeus, but Athena put herself in place of him and was dying now. Zeus escaped, vowing to bring a war he would not be able to handle. In her last words, Athena tried to explain to Kratos why Zeus did all he did, and that it was to prevent the curse of the son killing the father, as he did to Kronos, and as Kronos did to his own. Before that, Kratos finally learned who his father was, but just could not forgive for the strings he pulled on his life. Using the power of time he had gotten, he went back to the time before the Titans suffered through the Great War and brought them back to fight with him against Zeus and the whole of Olympus, which will be protecting him. Straight into the third game, Kratos is climbing Olympus with the Titans, with the amazing intro, which was also, I guess, the ending of God of War 2. But yeah, he announces straight to Zeus that his son has returned.
Zeus, your son has returned! I bring the destruction of Olympus!
This was the game of just amazing battles, and it began with Poseidon, who attacked Gaia with the hippocampus, and Kratos was able to thwart his attempt and kill Poseidon. They reached the top of the mountain, but Zeus struck them down, injuring Gaia, and this led her to dropping Kratos, telling him that this is a war he does not need to be a part of. Leaving Kratos enraged, being left out, he fell to the realm of Hades below, and with what I assume calls the river Styx since it had like souls of Hades or whatever those things that were swimming in the river were. Kratos dragged himself out to find Athena. Shocked by seeing her after he witnessed her die, she had come back in another life form and warns him that Zeus would be significantly harder than killing the other gods were. Kratos of course questions why there was a change of heart from Athena like this, and she gives a vague answer just saying Zeus is not right to lead mankind anymore. Anyway, she tells him that he has to find the flame of Olympus to get what he needs to get rid of Zeus' strengths. He begins his mission of revenge and marks off the gods and titans together one by one, showing his true strength and anger, how much he was willing to do to get to Zeus. The likes of Helios, Hades, who was also enraged when Kratos killed his wife Persephone, Hermes, even when he was sent to the pits of Tartarus, he killed Kronos, and even Gaia herself for her betrayal. Along the trail of his journey, Kratos learns that the flame kills anyone who dares touch it. He also learned that inside the flame was Pandora's box, the same artifact he used to slay the former god of war. Later down the line, while in the works with Hephaestus, a god who was known as the greatest blacksmith in all of Olympus, he was responsible for the construction of Pandora's box and the flame which guards it from being taken. Kratos learns that Hephaestus had made a key to the flame, which was his daughter called Pandora, and Kratos in due time killed him as well because he would refuse to let her be sacrificed for his gain. Kratos does find Pandora, but seems to grow fond of her and tries to think of maybe an way the flame can be extinguished. Finally catching up to Zeus, they get in an intense battle, and Pandora makes the decision to sacrifice herself, as she believes it was her purpose. Now, free from the flame, Kratos opened the box to find it just empty, and Zeus laughs it off, just to infuriate him even more. So they continue to fight until Kratos mercilessly beats him to death, because he just refused to be belittled by Zeus. Even after all the tricks, he would continue to play with him, not knowing that the hope is buried deep inside of him, which has kept him going all of this time, since the first time he opened Pandora's box. So Kratos had brought down the whole of Olympus and left the whole world in ruins, making the prophecy come true. Athena finally approached Kratos, asking him to give her the power from the box which he used to kill Zeus. Kratos had served people for a long time and was just angry, so he pierced himself with the blade of Olympus to set free this hope into the remainder of the world, leaving Athena bitter. And this was where the universe was closed off, showing his bloody footsteps where he stabbed himself but picked himself up to walk on. Now the bridge between God of War 3 and God of War 2018, what happened between these series of events for each game is very unknown. I could not connect how he went from God of War 3 to God of War 2018 because there is no information yet of how much time has passed and what Kratos has gone through since then, where he traveled and all that happened before he reached where he was. And the gap is just too huge, but I will try to explain the next events that we get from the God of War 2018 in the game as well. So in this new world, we learn that Kratos has built a new family with a son called Atreus and a wife who was named Faye. We learn that Faye unfortunately passed away at this time, and Kratos and Atreus are preparing a ceremony to cremate her. After they do this, they collect her ashes, because we find out that Faye wanted her ashes to be scattered in the highest point in all of the realms. However, Kratos wanted to hold off a bit on this, because Atreus was known for being sick. Something was troubling him, I guess, since birth. On the other hand, they got visited by a strange man who turned out to be an Aesir god called Balder, who claimed to be looking for them and had a lengthy battle with Kratos. After this, Kratos felt that they might as well go on the journey to carry the ashes, and he traveled with Atreus, still in doubt that he can go on the journey because of his sickness, but they go ahead because they're being attacked by this strange man and he didn't know what else was to come. On the journey, Kratos meets two dwarves called Brock and Sindri, who assisted them on their travels because he learned that they are the makers of the axe Kratos uses now, which was left to him by his wife Faye. They go and make it to the top of Midgard, which was the realm they stayed in. This was where they learned that Balder could not be hurt and he couldn't feel pain, basically being invulnerable, and that the two sons of Thor, Magni and Modni, were working with him, looking for both Kratos and Atreus after the encounter. They also met Mimir, who was known for his knowledge and wisdom, and was infused in a tree as a punishment given to him by Odin, who was the king of Aesir gods. Anyway, Mimir let Atreus and his father know that they were not at the highest point in all realms, and that they had to go to Jotunheim, land of the giants. They had to now find a way to travel there, as they learned that the giants had a rivalry with the Aesir. So they tried to conceal any way in which they could travel to Jotunheim. They discovered that there was a way hidden from the Aesir that was possible to get to their destination. And with the help of Mimir, who was a decapitated head resurrected by Freya, who was a witch and goddess Kratos and Atreus met earlier while they were hunting. While on their way, they meet up with Magni and Modi, who were looking for them, and ended up fighting to a point where Atreus passes out. This causes Kratos to be enraged, and he killed Magni, scaring off Modi, who was in shock. After seeing an Aesir killed, Kratos then took Atreus back to Freya, who he begged to help him. He let him know that he is sick because he doesn't know about himself, who he truly is. Kratos didn't want him to know about his past. It was a life he wanted to leave behind. Freya told Kratos that she needs an ingredient found in Helheim, which would help wake up Atreus, and that he was going to need more than his axe to get it. This forced Kratos to dig up his past anyway, as he fetched the Blades of Chaos from his previous days and got what was needed to help Atreus. When he was awake again, he told him this.
The truth. The truth. I am a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god, and so were you.
I guess this was enough for him to know and help himself get better and not be sick anymore. Yeah, that part is a little bit confusing for me. After a while, they learned that Freya was the mother of Balder, and Balder hated Freya for making him invincible to everything and unable to feel. After some encounters, Balder found Kratos and Atreus again, thwarting their journey. Freya appeared and tried to reconcile with Balder, and he just was angry and wanted her dead. And Kratos kept trying to stop Balder from doing this, telling him that he knows the feeling of wanting to get revenge, since it was a time in his life which he was not proud of, and it never made him happy.
I don't need you at all.
Back off, Kratos. This has nothing to do.
This path you walk, vengeance, you will find no peace. I know.
You... I'll deal with you later. But family first. This again?
He kept fighting to try stop him from hurting. Eventually, Balder punched through Atreus, who had a piece of mistletoe that was tied on his quiver. And this happened to reverse or undo, let me say, the spell of invulnerability that Balder had. And he was ecstatic that he could now feel things, but he still couldn't forgive Freya and still wanted to take her life. Kratos could not stand there and watch this, so he pulled Balder off Freya, put him down for good now. Obviously, they lost a friend in Freya, who just wanted to protect her son at any cost from dying. This had finally occurred through Kratos. Atreus also finally learned what Kratos hid from him all this time, and was told that he must be better, that the decisions he made in anger shouldn't control him.
Boy! Listen close. I'm from a land called Sparta. I made a deal with the god that cost me my soul. I killed many who were deserving, and many who were not. I killed my father.
That was your father in hell. Is this what it is to be a god? Is this how it always ends? Sons killing their mothers? Their fathers?
No. We will be the gods we choose to be. Not those who have been. Who I was is not who you'll be. We must be better.
So Kratos and Atreus finally made it to Jotunheim and spread the ashes of Faye over the mountain. And as they did this, they found murals which showed that Atreus was not only part god from Kratos, but he was also a part giant, and he was named Loki. This was then found out that Kratos was not the only one hiding things, as Faye hid her identity as a giant. They went back home to what I should call a happy-ish ending. Yeah, this was a very emotional game for Kratos and his development of character from the series. Okay, so that's basically the timeline I wanted to explain. It's just a generalization of the journey of Kratos throughout all these games And there is, of course, a lot more events and important characters and their stories, which are all amazing, that I left out. But I tried to express the journey of Kratos and how far he has gone for now. It's a story that I love and cannot get enough of it. If there is something I missed or got wrong, I apologize, because this was just all from the top of my head, and I wrote this down to share. And if you've made it this far and you're interested in more of the lore and Easter eggs, understanding the games better, I will link 2 channels in the description which I constantly watch, that keep up really well on the news and facts and do more thorough research on this topic. But again, thank you, and hopefully you enjoyed that.
You still appear to be an Olympian.
Appearances can be deceiving, Kratos.
So can the children of Olympus.
Perhaps. But remember, my death came by your blade.
My blade was meant for Zeus. Be quick with your words. What will you do, father? You can no longer hide behind the skirts of Athena.
Athena is dead because of the rage that consumes you, Kratos. What more will you destroy?
The hands of death could not defeat me. The sisters of fate could not hold me. And you will not see the end of this day. I will have my revenge!